Mr. Larson says we are live, is that right? All right, very good, thank you. Good to see all of you, November 22nd, 2021. And here we are once again for our first monthly city council meeting. We will proceed as usual. We'll have our Pledge of Allegiance. We're very honored to have with us this evening from Grace Church, Tim Ayers is visiting us tonight, and will offer our invocation following the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Ayers.
Okay, would you all pray with me, please? Our dear Heavenly Father, this is a time we take stock of all that we have to be thankful for. And I want to begin by saying I'm thankful for the confidence that we can have that you hear our prayers and that you are a good and loving God. I am also personally thankful, Lord, for this council. I'm thankful that each member has willingly chosen to take on the hard task of leading our community. I pray that you'll give them each a deep sense of your presence, that you'll bless them with great wisdom, and that you'll give them a clear vision of what is best for our city, and that tonight they will have the courage to respectfully stand together for what they believe is best for all of the citizens of our city of Westfield. Lord, I pray this, knowing that you will bless them. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you have done for us. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Tim. And hey, Tim, beginning tonight, we decided that the pastors should stay for the whole meeting to be sure that God's, continues to look after us. So, yeah. You're dismissed. Thank you so much. Mr. Johns, would you like to run this meeting, sir?
Thank you, Mayor Cook. All right. Kim, would you please note the presence of the quorum?
Sure. Scott Fry.
Here.
Troy Patton.
Here.
Joe Edwards.
Here.
Scott Willis.
Here.
Mike Johns.
Here.
Jake Gilbert.
Here.
Cindy Spoljaric. Here. We do have a quorum.
Okay. First thing I have to do is announce one minor change to the agenda. Under new business, ordinance 21-53, which is the 2022 elected official salaries. This will be introduced tonight, and we will go ahead and have it up for adoption next meeting on December 13th, but I've been informed it does not require a public hearing. So next week or next meeting, there will not be a public hearing. It'll just be up for adoption. Moving on to our first item then on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes for November 8th, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second. Motion made by Cindy Spoljaric, seconded by Jake Gilbert. Kim, please call the roll.
Cindy Spoljaric.
Yes.
Mike Johns.
Yes.
Scott Fry.
Yes.
Joe Edwards.
Yes.
Scott Willis.
Yes.
Jake Gilbert.
Yes.
Troy Patton.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Great. Next item on tonight's agenda is the approval of the claims docket for November 22nd, 2021. Councilors, are there any questions on the claims docket?
President Johns, I had a question, if I can find it here. It is for a payment. It'd have been well if I would have marked it. But it was a payment, it was attorney fees for Mr. Webster. And I just wanted to know, is that in this bunch that we're going to consider tonight later? If I could find it, I could.
Yeah, it's on page 4.
Okay, yeah, Webster, there's 15 and, yeah, 15,061.
Cindy Gossard, are you on the call?
I am.
Um,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, did you hear Joe's question? Have those claims been paid? Or are they in the numbers that we've included in the special
They're-
appropriation?
They are in the numbers.
Okay.
That's been approved.
That's all,
in
that's
the
all.
Okay, thank you, Cindy.
Mr. Webster thanks you too.
Okay. Yeah. So Cindy, if they're part of the appropriation, then we should not approve them on the claims tonight. We'll just hold them, they're on there, but we're not going to pay them until we approve the appropriation at the next meeting. Do I need to make a motion on that at all?
Yes, sir, it'll be a motion including that.
All right, Joe, can you make a motion?
Yeah, I just wanted to clear up the confusion. I was confused when I saw this because I thought we wrapped all that in one bundle. And now I see it here, and I wonder if that's outside the bundle or if that's inside the bundle.
That is inside that bundle,
Okay.
so we should make them, I would entertain a motion not to pay them on this docket sheet.
Okay, so moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to take the 3 Webster claims.
There's just one that I see.
There are 3 of them
Okay.
on page 4, and those will be part of the appropriation that's going to be introduced tonight, up for public hearing and consideration on the 13th. So,
I just want to get the amount correct.
so I had a motion made by Joe Edwards, seconded by Scott Fry. Kim, would you call the roll, please?
Cindy Spalgeric,
Yes.
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Scott Fry,
Yes.
Joe Edwards,
Yes.
Troy Patton.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Counselors, are there any other questions regarding claims docket? Hearing none, do I have a motion from someone to approve the remainder of the claims docket?
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Joe Edwards, seconded by Troy Patton. Kim, please call the roll.
Cindy Spalgeric,
Yes.
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Mike Johns,
Yes?
Troy Patton,
Yes.
Scott Fry,
Yes.
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Joe Edwards.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. All right, our next item of business tonight is a proclamation, Mr. Mayor, from Westfield Chambers, 40th anniversary.
40th anniversary, yeah, and I believe Steve Latour, you have a presentation you'd like to make. We have several representatives with us tonight, and while you're walking up here, Coach Gilbert, do you have one more in you? One more. One more? Congratulations. Wow, what a fun game that was. Yeah, that was great.
Saturday night at 7.
At 7, downtown.
Congratulations, Coach. For the record, Steve Latour with the Westfield Chamber of Commerce. President Johns had asked that I make a quick presentation on just where the chamber is today and what we've been up to. It's been about a year since I first introduced myself to all of you as the new executive director for the Chamber of Commerce. So it's been a fun and interesting year. I'd like to call it the first pancake year. So real quick, wanted to share, the board has been very busy this year working sort of on its inner workings. One of the things that the board has done is adopted a new vision statement for the chamber, which is here on the screen. In addition to really looking at what's the vision of the chamber long-term, they've also been looking at what is our purpose for Westfield and how are we going to serve Westfield going forward. And so through that process, we've identified 4 key areas that we're going to begin to shift our functions towards in the next coming years. The first being member services. How are we giving networking opportunities, special events, and things designed to help those businesses here in town be successful? The other will be economic development. How do we continue to help with retention of our business partners, the expansion of those partners, looking at transportation, redevelopment. What role can the chamber play in supporting the city's goals and initiatives to continue to see the city grow as it has? We also think that we need to be an advocate for our members and things that they need related to their business environment and the work that they're doing here in the city to make sure that this is a place that everyone will enjoy living, learning, and playing and doing business. And then finally, really participating in the community vision of Westfield so that businesses are at the table and that we can be and continue to be an indispensable asset as we plan for the future of Westfield. No doubt that Westfield is on the move. I like to think we're entering a whole new golden era for our city, and it's causing all of us to think differently, look differently, and also make sure that we're giving our members, our business members, every advantage to be successful short-term and long-term here in town. One of the biggest things that the board is taking on is to put together a strategic plan through 2025, and we plan to do that through this filter system of, is what we're doing relevant, is it replicable, and is it recognizable by our members? And using that filter to decide, are the programs and things that we're offering going to help them be better, help their staffs be better, and be something that the city looks at as a really good value for what we're all investing in. One of the big changes that we had this year was in our partnerships. Probably around February or early March, the Downtown Westfield Association and the Chamber's board got together to talk about, is there a way to streamline some services? And the decision was made to combine staffs, have one executive director, which is now myself, and then to collaborate and work together to do some things for the city. So we have two separate boards, two separate organizations, two separate bank accounts. All that stuff is tracked separately, and then there are different missions and visions for each. I look forward to coming forward in 2022 with our chair, Dan Moyer, to do a presentation about the Downtown Westfield Association and what it's working on. But this new partnership has offered us lots of new opportunities to collaborate and work with folks across town. So I wanted to mention that. That was a big win for us this year. The Chamber's leadership has continued to diversify over the past year. I'm really excited that we've brought on a member from Abbott, who is now Tim Hartman, who is here in the audience, but is a member of our board. Dawn Bunting from SEP, who is, as you know, opening their new headquarters next month. We have our new superintendent who's been sworn on to the board. So you can see that we've got a diversity of industry, and we've got some openings that will be coming up here soon. So we're looking to add to that to continue to round out our board so that we've got a good representation of Westfield and from small to larger company. Also wanted to just mention our mighty but little staff. We would not get anything done if it were not for Andrea Driver, who's in the audience. She's fantastic. I can't imagine not having her. So I just want to acknowledge the work that she does every day to keep us going forward. Allie Baldwin, who was an intern for us this summer, has been working part-time while at Ball State this semester, continuing to do communications. So if you've seen those new member posts coming out or the ribbon cutting things, she's been working on those for us. But we've got a good team. We're looking to grow our team next year, and I think we'll be in a good position to do so. Membership. These are our current Emerald members, so these are the folks who've committed the highest level of membership to the Chamber financially. And you can see, again, a good cross-section of folks within our community who've made that commitment. Some of the new ones this year are JRF Construction, Abbott, and then the Action Coach, Chris Beavers, there on the list. I also wanted to mention our gold partners. We've seen a lot of new gold partners this year, including Union Bible College, which jumped up on the list. They've been getting more and more actively involved. I actually have a meeting with the president next week for lunch, so I'm looking forward to that. Old Town Construction, and I believe Lennar is new, but Andrea would correct me if I'm wrong. So, but you can see a good diversity of membership that we have. Right now, there are 439 company members that are part of the Chamber. representing somewhere near 6,000 employees through the city of Westfield. So pretty good group of people that we've got there. As I mentioned, I feel like this is kind of the first pancake is not always the best. It still tastes great, but it may look a little funky. So this year we've had some good ups and downs. Some of that's just been learning the ropes, but some of it's been the pandemic and some of the ongoing challenges that we've had. We as a chamber are still working to recover. We did have a loss last year from the pandemic and the loss of members, but even though we've lost members this year, we've added 63 new members who've joined the chamber who see an investment in the chamber as an investment in Westfield. We have launched a new Young Professionals Council that right now they're working on a Young Professionals Conference that will be part of 2022. We've started an Art and Culture Council that will be helping Westfield Welcome to plan for the new Grand Junction Plaza. And we just recently kicked off a calendar and event council that'll be working on a coordinated calendar for the city that will be launching in early January of 2022. We've held a lot of lunches, a lot of networking events. As I mentioned, the board has been doing a lot of governance work. We now follow a policy governance process. I've personally had over 100 member meeting visits, a lot of coffees and donuts at Titus, right, President Johns? And we've been really working on our relationship. So I would say the chamber's relationship now with city administrators, our new Ivy Tech partnership, the county, the other chambers in the county is fantastic. I regularly talk to the state legislator offices, Donna Shibley, also Victoria Sparks' office. So the chamber is getting more and more involved in that, and I think it's great because it's putting Westfield in front of them on a regular basis. As we look to 2022, I would just share that we're going to roll out some new partnership opportunities. We have partnered up with Tipton County and Zionsville Chamber. The three of us are going to host the first ever Hoosier Chocolate Fest in February. We're really hoping this becomes a new tradition for this region and grows and grows and grows. And so that will be Valentine's Day weekend in February. Like I mentioned, we're working on the calendar. We're going to have our first ever Westfield Business Expo that'll be open to residents and our partners. That'll be Westfield businesses and businesses that serve Westfield in the fall of next year. Looking at, again, those different member services and economic development opportunities, and really just want to be at the table. Our board's really excited about working with all of you, working with the mayor and the administration to see where there are opportunities for us to continue to make Westfield great. So I look forward to coming back in a year, if not sooner, with what we've been able to continue to do to help support our businesses. And so with that, I will yield to the mayor, who I understand has a little presentation for us.
We have a proclamation. Why don't the members and the
Yes.
staff come down with us here, please? Good to have all of you. Great. You know, I've had the pleasure of watching this organization grow and mature over the last 15 years. When I first came in, Julie Soul was in charge here, and then we had, who came after that? It was Jack Russell, and then Nick Verhoff, upon his retirement from the school, came in for a few years. And now we have Steve Latour, and each one of these persons has brought the entire organization to its next level. And to watch it grow along with the growth of the city has been very remarkable. I want to thank you all. So we, as a city, would like to recognize you as the Chamber of Commerce, as the leading organization serving Westfield regional business and community prosperity with nearly 9,000 employees. This says 438 members.
So we have one more.
You've added one since this even went to press. And therefore, more than 250 business leaders have served on your board of directors through the years. That's very critical. You are serving your 40th anniversary as of November 10th, 2021. And therefore, I do declare that today, we will be honoring the Westfield Chamber of Commerce for
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving on, our agenda to the area of old business. First item is ordinance 21-48, authorizing the creation of an American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, and appropriating monies from the City of Westfield ARPA Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund. This item had a council introduction on October 11th. Public hearing was tabled on October 25th, and we will have a public hearing this evening. I believe Councilor Spojeric will introduce ordinance 21-48.
Well, I will, but we actually have 3 counselors and 2 other members that serve on our committee, so maybe they'll help me if I need. If you guys recall, we introduced it again October 11th, and at that time, the ordinance only included a template for the investment plan, and that is for the $4.9 million that we received in this first disbursement from the Treasury. Since then, our committee has used that template, which generally includes these buckets, to generate the funding plan, which will be further modified as we continue to evolve with our plan and guidance from the feds. So, just so I state this up front, this plan is going to be further discussed, and we're going to hopefully receive more input from the public December 7th at 7 o'clock in this room. And so we will have our consultants there at the time, our legal consultants, to address questions and provide more information. But anyway, put that on your calendar, please. So our committee did approve, in general, these buckets in our template and then further refined in our plan. And so 45% responding to the negative economic impacts of the public health emergency, which would include assistance to nonprofits, businesses, and other affected individuals. 40% for infrastructure, which specifically in our case is stormwater. 5% premium pay. And going down further from that, we specifically have $196,000 for our frontline public safety workers. So that does leave some more available out of that 5% for premium pay to be discussed further. And 10% for services, which would include the audit and our legal services. The State Board of Accounts has basically told us we must reserve that much for auditing purposes. So Jake German and Dustin Meeks from Barnes & Thornburg are the legal consultants that have been assisting our committee and will be working with us throughout this plan as we move forward. And their services are included in our plan as well, and we already have that agreement with them. So, I guess before we answer any questions, we should probably have the hearing.
Okay, I think that's a good idea. We will then, because it requires a hearing, we'll open the hearing at 7:24. Kevin, do we have any cards? Why don't we give it about 60 seconds here and see if we have any call-ins. Okay, I'll close the public hearing at 7:25 p.m. Counselors, do we have any additional questions?
I'm sorry, good.
I was going to ask, we received $4.9 million, so what you're saying is we have to escrow $490,000 approximately for legal and audit services.
And I believe the state board would have us put away 10% of our total disbursement, which again, we did not get the second disbursement yet. That should arrive next spring or summer. So yeah, we'd be looking at an additional amount out of that for next year as well.
I just have 2 comments. First off, we've had some questions around why aren't we doing infrastructure projects now? There is a debate going on in Congress around the restrictions on the use of those funds. Right now, it is very, very tight, and very few, really nothing on our current radar screen of immediate importance, something we can use the money for. So there are some projects that Jeremy has that we can use the money for, but we're holding out probably through first quarter of next year, because if this passes, and right now there's bipartisan support, but we all know that doesn't necessarily mean anything in Congress, it could give us a lot of flexibility to use it for just about any kind of infrastructure project we want. So we're sitting tight on that for now. And then also, just to add on that premium pay, certainly there are other public employees who were on the line of fire and out there day in and day out during COVID. We wanted to hit the public safety people first because of the risks they took in dealing with COVID in their jobs. But we do, as Cindy mentioned, we do have other money out there, and we'll be looking at that. And I do believe Cindy has reached out to Todd about getting a list and a justification from other employees, so it's still to be determined on where that one goes long-term. That's all I had.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other comments, questions? Cindy?
I don't have any.
All right.
Yeah, just one other comment, if I may. I'd like to pick up on what Councilor Willis said. We do have other employees, if you recall, our Public Works employees were not working from home. They were patching holes and plowing snow, and they were out there. The same thing, we made a decision to keep our building inspectors active during the whole time in order to keep the construction industry working. They did some innovative scheduling of times and all, but we did have other employees that were out there, and I hope you'll take a look at those. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cook.
One more thing to add, because I know the public might be interested. Given that there is this fairly sizable amount, this 45% of our disbursement, and we're hoping to really target nonprofits, and especially those who are disadvantaged in some way, and serving minority groups within our community as well. That application, there will be an application process, and Barnes & Thornburg is working on that right now. There are a lot of requirements for our subrecipients of these grants and/or transfers, depending on how that's structured. So we don't have that yet, but we will have it soon. So I just wanted to let the public know that we're working on it.
If there are no other additional comments, I would entertain a motion on ordinance 21-48.
So move.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Counselor Spaljerik and seconded by Scott Lewis.
Correct.
Kim, would you call the vote, please?
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Troy Patton,
Yes.
Joe Edwards,
Yes.
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Cindy Spaljerik,
Yes.
Scott Fry.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. The next item is ordinance 21-50, appropriation of funds. I believe that this is for has to do with the sale of the property to the Westfield Building Corporation for the fire station. Is there someone going to present that? Todd or John?
John Rogers. Todd has put this together, and he's ill tonight. It pretty much spells out what's expected. This is for the building corp and the additional appropriation.
Okay,
That's
so-
right. I don't
so
know if
John,
Jim
this-
Crawford is online or not, but it's basically, the money is coming in, the 13.85, and this is the same process for new money coming in. You have to appropriate it before you can spend it, and this authorizes that action.
It's here. We don't have to raise it. We're just moving it from one place to another.
That's right, but you still have to appropriate it in order to be able to spend it for the purposes allotted in the previous items you approved. So it's just that same process.
Okay. This item requires a public hearing, so I will start the public hearing at 7:31. Kevin, no cards? No cards. Okay, let's give it about 60 seconds. Okay, I'll close the public hearing at 7:32. Counselors, any comments, questions? Again, this ordinance had council introduction on November 8th, and it's pretty straightforward. It just has to do with the purchase of the property for $1,000,001 by the Westfield Building Corporation. And again, as Councilor Hanning said, it's pretty much straightforward. Have a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Motion made by Troy Patton, seconded by Joe Edwards. Kim, would you call the roll, please?
Joe Edwards,
Yes.
Scott Fry,
Yes.
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Cindy Spillier,
Yes.
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Troy Patton.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to new business. First item of new business is ordinance 21-51, additional appropriation for legal fees. It's up for council introduction this evening and a public hearing on the December 13th with adoption consideration also on December 13th. As you recall, this was an item that was first heard back at the end of September, and was postponed until, and tabled until this point. We're looking for some final numbers for both legal and consulting numbers. John Rogers, would you like to review?
John Rogers, Director of Enterprise. Yeah, I worked with Cindy Gossard, the clerk treasurer, to come up with these numbers as requested. Basically, what you're seeing in front of you, the 430 number includes 112,940 from the clerks. The 170, as you will recall, I'll take us back. As you'll recall, I had a concern there was 177 that wasn't accounted for. And so after sitting down with Cindy, we put together this schedule. And now we've accounted for, again, 112,940 in that first number. In the second number, we've accounted for 64, and those two basically make up that 177. Cindy would have to address that final number. That was not part of our conversation. If there are any other questions after Cindy addresses that, I'd be happy to answer those.
Okay, thank you, John. Cindy, do you have anything to add to that?
No, not really. My numbers are what my attorney's office has predicted to the end of the year and to cover what I've already paid. My attorney line at January 2021, I only had $5,000 appropriated. So this should be the final.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Any counselors, do you have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, John. Cindy, for getting together. Really appreciate it. That's exactly what we need. I will just add, I asked for, I sent an email approximately a week or two ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I'd like to see the detail behind the billing and the dates, and I have not received a response yet. I believe I copied all of city council. I think if they just gave it to all of us at once, it'd be best. But I'm still waiting on that. And until I get that, I will not be voting for this.
Thank you, Counselor Patton. What I'd add to that, I got a copy, I read your email too, Troy. I know you spent a lot of time working on both you and Cindy, trying to get your numbers together here. I've got a little concern with the fact that on November 5th, we had a total of 766,000, and now we're looking at $1 million. And that's okay, because we asked you to go back and put all the numbers in and get it right, and I'm just gonna assume this is right. And tonight, we're just introducing it tonight. We're not gonna vote on it until the 13th. But what I'm gonna ask you to do, and I'm gonna give you a little write-up here, is kind of piggyback on what Troy said, okay? I'm gonna ask that you provide the council no later than Friday, December 10th, with 4 items, and I will give this to you in writing, John. First of all, a list of all invoices paid year-to-date for the 3 funds up there, okay, that include the date of the claims, the claims docket that they were paid. So a list of all the invoices for the prior year, year-to-date, for the 3 funds, including the date on which they were paid. Okay, number 1. Number 2, a list of all invoices received for the 3 funds as above by either the administration or the clerk, but not yet paid. So because we know we've got invoices in that haven't been paid. So we want to know which ones have been paid for each fund, which ones we haven't paid yet. The third will be a list of the anticipated invoices for the 3 funds that we expect to receive by the end of the year. Now, given that you're going to provide this to the council on by December 10th, we're only looking at 3 weeks, so I'm hoping that you can be pretty accurate with your estimates for 3 weeks, okay? And then the fourth thing would be to provide a total for each fund, reduce the total by the amount originally budgeted for 2021, and compare the amount of each fund to the appropriation requested in ordinance 21-51. So basically, you're just proving and kind of doing a mathematical deal here to show us that those numbers are in fact accurate. If they change a little, they change a little, but we'll know that before we vote on this on the 13th.
I presume you gotta work with Cindy on that as well, because Cindy probably has some of that.
That would be,
That's a
and
great
this-
observation. The first couple there, the
this-
first
I've
3
got a
are
little-
actually gonna
an
come
email
from
written
Cindy.
up. Yeah.
Yeah,
to both you and Cindy.
yeah. And then we would work together to give you the estimate for the rest of the year.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yes, can I take that now?
Yes, you can. You certainly can. All right. Any other questions, comments, counselors? All right. Again, ordinance 2151 will be up for adoption consideration on December 13th. And we expect we will have accurate numbers to look at. The next ordinance, 2155, additional appropriation for fire. This has a council introduction this evening. It will have a public hearing and be up for adoption on December 13th. Is there? Yes, Chief Gaylor. Thank you, Chief.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Gaylor, Westfield Fire Department. Sorry, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Gaylor, Westfield Fire Department. In reference to this 269 account, I sent over a little more detail than what's shown here, and I just want to get that out so people are clear The 269 is a training facility account. It's a non-reverting fund, so these numbers aren't going to come out of the city's general fund. They're going to come out of this own facility's checkbook. But in all clarity, I had 5 lines here that I broke down into detail. Training line needs 2,000 appropriated. A maintenance line needs 800. Services line needs 18,500. Subscriptions 3,000, and an equipment line of 2,200 for the total of 26,500. Just wanted to get that out there, that it was broken down into detail into what line those needed to go into. The lump sum comes up to the same, but just wanted to let you guys know that that fund is there.
Thank you, Chief.
Councilors, any questions? Okay, thank you. All right. Ordinance 2155, additional fire appropriation will be up for consideration on December 13th. Next item of new business, ordinance 2156, additional appropriation for public works. This has a council introduction tonight, and again, public hearing on the 13th, up for consideration then too. Jeremy Lawler?
Yeah, thank you very much. For the record, Jeremy Lawler, Director of Public Works. Before you tonight are 2 additional appropriations. One of them is to the 264 fund, which is the road impact fee fund. If you recall, back in April, I believe, of 2021, I brought to you all a motion of interpleader for approval associated with a lawsuit between a contractor and a developer associated with the trails development. The city had entered into a road impact fee reimbursement credit agreement for the construction of 175th Street. We were named as a third party because we were holding those funds. You all approved it. The judge ultimately approved or accepted our interpleader, and we then were required to submit a payment of $938,390 to Hamilton County Clerk. So those were not budgeted expenses for the 2021 budget, coming tonight to account for those in that fund. They have already been spent. It is not new spend out of that line. I think Councilor Johns and I had an exchange on what our cash balance is moving forward to in anticipation of the 32 project. The 209 fund is it's called performance maintenance. So we require, when a developer builds new infrastructure that is ultimately going to be publicly owned, we require maintenance bonds and in some conditions, performance bonds. Basically insurance plans saying that they're going to do what they say they're going to do and construct things to our standards. When you go way back to probably 2014, when Tractor Supply was being constructed, there was a small section of Spring Mill Point Drive that was constructed. It was not constructed to city standards, subsequently it was never accepted. We have been battling since that time to cash the bond and repair the infrastructure. We have switched attorneys. Taft is going to take that over for us and try to fight that fight, so our hope is to get reimbursed this. Subsequently, when Goddard School was coming and Meyer was coming, we entered into an agreement, a development agreement with the developer of that area, specifically Wilfong, to reimburse them for the reconstruction of the road that was originally not constructed appropriately. So clearly that was not budgeted either. These additional funds have also already been spent out of a cash fund where we've collected these I guess I should back up. 2008, we had the recession. Fortunately, Westfield did not stop developing. Many of our developers could not get performance and maintenance bonds. So we implemented a program to allow them to submit cash in lieu of that bond. That cash all flows into this fund. It has been accumulated over a number of years so that it is our own insurance plan. If someone fails, we have a cash reserve to be able to fix that infrastructure without impacting the neighborhood or whomever. So the road is fixed. We had to reimburse the developer. So it's an additional appropriation of $237,530 of cash that is in reserve. Last time I checked, I believe there was $600,000 or $700,000 in that fund that can really only be used for this function. So we still have a nice nest egg in case we come across this problem again. Hopefully we won't, but it's there if we need it.
Perfect, perfect. And
Jeremy, did we ever accept during this downtime letters of credit in lieu of bond for that?
We did and we still do to an extent. Most developers now can get a bond cheaper than a letter of credit, but we do have some letter of credit applications for, generally it's a really small bond. For performance bond, we only can legally require performance bonds on erosion control. So many times it's cheaper and easier for them to either submit a cash in lieu or give us a letter of credit for some of those. But if you're building $3 million worth of roads, a lot of times they can't show a letter of credit for that much. So they buy a maintenance bond. I know that's a lot to digest. Is there any questions?
That's good. My question would be to Manny. Do you think Taft's going to be able to recover this bond money for us? Do we have a chance?
I haven't looked at the paperwork yet. Jeremy is putting that together. But those are always, if there's a bond in place, there's a surety that's going to back it, and they have money. It's just a matter of getting them, like any insurance company.
And you're
getting
pretty
them
good
to
at what
pay.
you do, aren't you?
We're okay at getting that
All
done.
right.
So I feel pretty good about our chances on a surety bond like this. Yep.
So to further elaborate, we have been rejected twice throughout the process over 5 years. I do have the
Which is
file.
normal. It's not Jeremy's fault. That's
Yeah.
absolutely how it goes.
It is my fault that I haven't got the information to Manny yet, though. I'll accept that.
So
It's on my
I'll
desk.
just put on my calendar at the December meeting to have a check-in. By that time, we should get in contact with their attorneys and we should have a chat.
Thank you.
Yep.
Perfect. Counselors, any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thank you,
Thanks,
Jeremy.
Jeremy.
Okay. All right, and that ordinance 2156, again, will be up for adoption consideration December 13th. Next item on our agenda, ordinance 2153, the 2022 elected official salaries. That is up for council introduction this evening. Again, there is not a public hearing required. It will just be up for adoption consideration on December 13th. And John Rogers, do you want to say anything about this ordinance?
John Rogers, Director of Enterprise. President John, this is a standard format, standard process, and Cindy has, I believe Cindy and her folks have put this together for you tonight. It's a standard process every year.
Okay, thank you, John. Any councilors, any questions? Okay, essentially, I believe that what I know about it is that basically we put through a 4% raise for all city employees this year roughly. And so then we just did a 4% raise for the elected officials also. And in my conversations with Mayor Cook, that seems to be a number that most municipalities have done statewide. So we're basically following what has been done statewide. So, any questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll move forward, and that ordinance 2153 will be up for adoption consideration on the 13th. Do we have any guests or residents who would wish to address the council this evening?
Mr. Johns, are you going to touch
I'm
on the dates?
I skipped one. Approval of meeting dates for 2022. I believe this is our standard meeting dates. Do I have a motion to approve these dates for next year?
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made by Jake Gilbert, seconded by Scott Fry to approve the meeting dates as shown for 2022. Kim, would you call the roll, please?
Joe Edwards,
Yes?
Troy Patton,
Yes.
Scott Fry,
Yes.
Cindy Spalgeric,
Yes.
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Mike Johns.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Again, I gather we have no guests wishing to make any presentations this evening. Cindy Gossard, do you have any comments tonight?
I do not.
Okay. I'll move then on to comments from the counselors. Cindy Spalgera, can you give us a report on the APC?
We had a pretty small agenda. We did meet November 15th. We approved the primary plat and development plan for Sycamore Glen, and we approved several orders that were concerning declaratory resolutions coming from the RDC, basically establishing compliance with the comprehensive plan. And we had a fantastic training session, and Mayor blessed us with his presence for the beginning of that. Posing some questions, actually, to the Plan Commission to look at the future for land use, and specifically, how big does Westfield want to be? It's an ongoing conversation. I know that you ask about, Mayor, so I just wanted, that was all we did. But I did want to just say, it's Thanksgiving week, and we have so many great people in this city. We really do. There's so many people who serve on our boards, our commissions, our, church groups, HOAs, just across the board, we have just fantastic people that serve all through the community, and it really makes us special. So, again, I'm just really thankful for that.
Thank you, Cindy. Troy, do you have anything from the Finance Committee?
Not really. Just in our next meeting, we'll be discussing the resolution to approve the audit. So the audit committee will be meeting at 8:45, right prior to the Finance Committee at 9.
That's December 1st?
Wednesday, December 1st, yeah.
Great. Jake Gilbert, do you have a report from
Yeah.
the oversight?
Sure. Two things before the oversight report, though. From the Wellbeing Coalition, we are offering a specific type of training on December 6th, so I wanted to bring that up today. So we found the VFW told us that in Hamilton County, suicides from our veterans were alarmingly high compared to some other communities. In fact, unfortunately, we had 7 veterans in Hamilton County take their own life over the course of a 2-month span, which was very alarming. And so we are trying to work with some veteran communities. I know right here on the council, we have a couple veterans who we're grateful for their service. So this is something that is important to many of us. So if you have a family member, or you yourself are a veteran and would like to help recognize signs of some of our vets who have struggled with their mental health, there's a special training on December 6th. And that's QPR, is question, persuade, respond, and that's a training that's used for people to help know what to do. Just like years ago, at some point, CPR came out. What do you do if there's an emergency and someone is struggling with a heart attack? What would you do? Well, QPR would be, what do I do if I believe someone is suicidal? And so that training will be put on by the Wellbeing Coalition of Westfield on December 6th. You can find those details on our website, or you can reach out to me. And then Oversight Committee, we had an Oversight Committee meeting, Joe?
10th. On the 10th.
On the 10th, thank you. So Scott Willis and Joe and myself were in attendance, along with the mayor and members of the clerk treasurer's department staff. And it was very organizational in nature, and talked through the Baker-Tilly report and some of the findings, and just kind of set the table for moving forward. I had individual meetings with Mayor Cook and individual meetings with Clerk Treasurer Gossard and her staff. Both were very fruitful, learned a lot, listened a lot. We got a long way to go, so this is just very general comment tonight, but just to assure the public so that we're starting to take some steps. After the holiday here, we will meet again and try to get on the same page, rowing in the same direction in terms of our response. We do think our response to the Baker-Tilly report is very important. We know that the public's going to be watching and listening to find out what we do with that information that we paid for. And that will be the Oversight Committee with Councilor Willis, Councilor Edwards, and myself will make a recommendation to our city council overall, and we will proceed from there. So we'll make sure the city council is informed,
every step of the way and eventually get back to the public and release some of the things we've already done, as well as some of the things we hope to do. So that's it.
Thank you, Councilor Gilbert. Are there any other comments, questions? Okay, Scott. Hearing none, I have no additional comments this evening. Mayor Cook?
All right, yeah, Jeremy, would you come forward? We were, some of his people received kind of an honor this past week at where was it, at Purdue, at a conference, or where were you?
Yeah, so I was not there. It is a civil engineers professional development
Oh,
seminar.
it was a John Nail
It was
thing.
John
Yeah.
Nail, of course, the brains behind the operation, right? It's a seminar Purdue puts on annually. Obviously, they're very renowned for their civil engineering. And in the professional development seminar, they highlight processes or things that are innovative and can be helpful to other civil engineers throughout the community. So you go to the second one, we, John Nail, NDOT, and our team at Structure Point were acknowledged for the process that they've established for the State Road 32 public outreach, specifically the interactive website, the openness, so the open dialogue, and the availability that they've created for public feedback, specifically on that project. So I think you'll see a lot more of that coming on. It was a nice accolade for them. We've worked very diligently. They've worked, as a team, have worked very diligently to make sure that the public has every opportunity, whether it be in person, virtually, or via the internet, to provide feedback on that project. So I thought it was a nice thing to be highlighted, certainly at a seminar like that covers not just the state of Indiana, but the Midwest, really, in general. So just wanted to
What
highlight.
was interesting is this was during COVID, so this is kind of new territory on public outreach virtually.
Yeah, correct. And yeah, we were fortunate, I guess unfortunate that COVID happened, but fortunate that we have the minds to be able to establish seemingly simple processes, but are not always that simple when you're trying to do it in the public realm. So it's a great attribute to John Nail and the rest of the team.
Very nice.
Good. Tell John thank you. Thanks,
you, John.
Jeremy. I just would close by wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And yes, Cindy, we are very blessed in this city. When you look at what's going on around America, cities large and small, we are most fortunate, aren't we? Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.